Well, good evening again. This is Mike Mitchell. I'm back again talking about The Vision Driven Leader by Michael Hyatt. And it's a really good book. I thank you that you've forced me into finally pulling it off the shelf and getting it read. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, you can see that I've done a lot of study in the past. Now, I haven't read all of those books. I've read most of them, or at least parts of most of them. But there's a difference between knowing and doing. I know a lot. And most of those subjects I have never done, I just know. And that's one of my goals for this year, to get more done. Ray Higdon, one of the people I follow, says that there's the difference between 0 to 1 is infinitely more than 1 to 2. Because the distance from 1 to 2 says that you're continuing to move. But 0 to 1 says you've started. We know from physics that starting friction is greater than rolling friction. And so the rolling friction is just continuing. And I mean, when we've tried to jumpstart a car, you push it for a while and until it can be rolling on its own. And then you can jump in, pop the clutch, and get it going. Surely you've done that. You have to have driven a clutch to understand that. And run out of gas or had a starter go bad. Running out of gas wouldn't have been the problem, but when a starter goes bad or the battery goes bad, that method works. It's bad on the clutch, but it can be done. I digress. Michael Hyatt, Vision-Driven Leader. Tonight is question 7. You remember that a leader is someone who casts a vision of where the organization wants to go. And then they create mission statements on how to get there. And then they manage their way through the details. And the way to create a vision is often a vision retreat or sabbatical, half-day sabbatical, where you go off by yourself, or maybe with a couple of close advisors, and you think through what kind of business would put you out of business? Someone who would take away most of your market share. Envision whether you want to be that kind of business and describe what that business is. Put yourself into the future where your business is that business, and then look backwards about how you got there. We talked last night about the mountain climber going up the sheer face of the mountain. He started by rappelling down and looking for convenient rest stops along the way, waypoints, and then created multiple paths from each of those so that he worked his way backwards from the end point to the beginning, and then mapped his way forward. And so that's what you're going to have to do. And so question 7. We've talked about, is it practical? Have you inspired people? Can the plan really, could it work? Well, the ultimate question is, will it work? Can you get someone else to believe what's clear in your head? And that's been my trouble, is get it clear enough in my head to get it down on paper and then get it in front of other people. And I've gotten some success, but not enough yet. So question 7, can you sell it? You need to enroll your team. And he says that there are really 4 stakeholders that you have to sell your idea to. You have to sell it to your team, the people who are going to be having to do the job with you, who are going to have to make the change from where they are to where you're going to be. Do they believe that that's a good vision? Do they believe that your path is the right path? Do they believe that you can lead them that way? More than likely, you have some leadership. For those of us who are middle management, now I have someone else that I have to sell. Even if you're the CEO, you have a board of directors or board of advisors. If you don't, that's one of my goals this year, is to create a board of advisors. As a single member LLC, I do it all. And I probably need some advisors. And when I was doing a bid proposal for a business incubator for the town, I had a board of advisors who read my proposal and helped me clarify it and told me that it wasn't ready to submit. It was good to have that cadre of people around me, keeping me real. Because you're going to have to sell it to them. You're going to have to sell it to the rest of the company. I mean, not just your own team, but everyone else that you interact with in the company is going to have to get. We did an organizational change in one organization. And this is where they kind of fell down. They kind of sprung it on everybody. And we were kind of, okay, you're the boss, we'll give it a try. And then they sprung it on the whole organization. And the organization pushed back pretty hard. But they'd already committed. So the organization said, okay, we'll go with you a little further. Because they had the leadership, they had the boss had bought in. But then you got to sell it to the rest of the organization, because you're now doing business different from the rest of your organization. Now, this is not so much if you're the CEO, especially of a small company. But you've got to sell it to your team. You've got to sell it to whoever's in charge and your leadership and your advisors. You've got to sell it to the whole company. Or if you're a single member, to your stockholders, the stakeholders, your customers, your clients. Some of your clients aren't going to like the change. Some of them are going to leave. Some of them you want to leave because they are not in keeping with where you want to go. You may have positioned yourself as the low-cost provider, and you want to become the premier provider. And putting all your attention on a low-cost client may be counterproductive. You may need to help them find a different source. We'll get to that in a minute. And if you're a small company, it may not be that you're selling the rest of the organization. You're selling your key media, your key stakeholders outside of the organization, your suppliers. The news media, perhaps. If you're a public company, you're going to have to sell the stockholders. So those are he says that you're going to have to sell to them. And then get around to how. Now, this is a long chapter. This is a hard chapter. I'm going to do it in 2 sessions. But I want to make sure that we get through at least this. He talked about your stakeholders. And he said that what you're going to have to do is help them. You've got several kinds of people that you're going to have to address, even within your organization. Most organizations that have a fair number of people in them, think of every place that you've worked. I mean, even when I was at a place like Walmart or the smaller offices I was part of, I was in one organization in Europe that was probably about 35 or 40 of us. And even then, some people aren't going to want to change. They like what they do. They've done what they are doing for a long time. We've got people in my current cubicle job that have been in that job for over 20 years, doing the same thing for over 20 years. For them, change is hard. And what you have to do is help them understand that change is not a departure from what they've been doing, it's a realignment of function. That they're doing a lot of the same thing, but maybe in a different way. Or they may need to adjust their job duties and focus more heavily on one part and less heavily on something else. And I admit that I have some trouble with that. We had some change, and I was really happy doing what I was doing, not what I needed to be doing, what I needed to pivot to. I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing roughly the same job, 4 different programs, but the same kind of job for 35, 38 years. I do some things the same way every time. Now, fortunately, I always look at them fresh, and I keep finding my methods that I developed were forward-thinking enough, and I am by nature someone who creates change. So I go okay. But some people don't, they're afraid they're going to abandon their current reality, and you just got to help them that, no, we're adjusting. We're creating a new reality. Let them know what isn't going to change. They need something to hold on to. They need some kind of an anchor that's comfortable. It's like stepping from one rock to the next. You keep one foot on the old rock that's stable until you're comfortable with the next rock. And then you can continue on across the stream. With each rock, you stay comfortable there for a while, and then you move to something new. So give them those anchors to hold on to as they move forward into the organization. There's going to have to be some personnel adjustments. Again, some of what they're doing may not be appropriate for what the organization needs them to do or needs someone to do. And there may be some job task realignment. Where I am at Cubicle Job, we had to change our name. Instead of being me being a production manager of a particular program, I became the program representative to the new organization, Production and Fielding, with an expertise in production. So my job description changed. For some people, it actually took a change to their position description within the organization. Some people aren't going to change. Again, they're too resistant. And as we mentioned yesterday in Good to Great, some people need to get off the bus. And you need to, don't fire them. Help them transition to an organization that has not changed yet, or to a function that is not going to change. Give them something that they can do so that you can transition them to something that will value and honor them, but remove them from your team because they're going to become an obstacle to progress. So there's some personnel adjustments. You're going to have to be able to accept feedback. I mean, too many people say, I know what I'm doing and I'm going to do it. I have some of that. I see it just intuitively, and I haven't described it closely enough. I haven't got my stakeholders to buy in. And that's what happened in my organization when they tried to move too fast. The feedback came, but it was really hard to give feedback. And when it was given, it really didn't resonate quickly. So it kind of OBE, overcome by events. It changed a little bit, but we were already there. We'd already committed, and we really couldn't go back to where we were doing, not easily. Now, fortunately, it is working out. Fortunately, we're moving ahead at a faster pace, and we're achieving the goals that we were hoping to achieve. But perhaps we could have socialized it a little bit and accepted some of the feedback a little faster. And then the same as you help people have anchor points, you need to respect the past. You need to honor the past. You need to celebrate what you've done before, even as you move forward. That is your baseline. Do not denigrate the past. Adjust, correct, and move forward. If you get into this blaming, you get stuck there and you hurt feelings. Instead, if you celebrate what has been done before and then adjust, you will go further and you will be seen as the leader who drives this company toward a greater presence in the marketplace. Now, like I said, 7 is a long question. Tomorrow I'll be back, and I'm going to probably do a little shorter tomorrow. But it's still a hard issue, and I'll probably do a review of this. But he finished out with how to sell up. You have to sell the idea upward, and you need to sell it down. You need to, this is not part of this book, but in my opinion, I've always got to manage up and manage down. I need to look 2 layers above me to understand what my boss's boss wants to see, so that I can help my boss be successful, with the intent that as he is successful, some of that praise will roll down, and that he will understand that I am the one helping him be successful. And then I have to manage down, because there are people below me in the organization that have, they gain value by what they're doing. And I have to celebrate that. So you have to sell down. And if I'm going to change the way I do business, it may affect the way that they do business. I have to sell the idea downward. You have to sell horizontally to other people that are in the same position or a similar position as you. And you have to sell outside the organization. Now, that's just a highlight of tomorrow, because he got into a lot bit more than I thought I could handle tonight. But that is, change is hard. Even if you clearly understand the future, even if you clearly know what has to be done, it's still hard to do. So, again, this is Michael Hyatt's Vision Driven Leader. If you choose to become a Vision Driven Leader, I hope you are showing some leadership somewhere. You don't have to be in charge. You can lead from the bottom, so long as you understand the future and you're able to sell it up, sell it across, sell it down, sell it to your stakeholders, provide opportunity for them. Then you can be seen as the leader. That's how I've become the expert in my organization, because I've been providing ways to change and get better. And I've sold the idea before I moved, so that they moved along with me and we celebrated progress together. That's enough for tonight. This is Mike Mitchell. I bid you peace, blessing, and a very good night. I'll be back tomorrow at the same time.